welcome to In the Know with Sowetan. My name is Koena Mashale, and today we are joined by the Executive Mayor of Johannesburg, Mr. Dada Morero. He will be shedding light on key developments in the city and responding to some of the pressing questions many residents have had. So just to kind of dive you right in, Mayor, thank you so much for joining us today. How are you?
I'm okay, Koena. How are you?
That's great to hear, sir. I'm very much okay. So as we're sitting here, sir, and we're sitting in the city of Johannesburg, you are the 104th mayor, that stands to be corrected, but that's my understanding. So in your tenure and just as being a mayor and so far and what you have done, what would you say is your proudest achievement in the office so far?
Okay. There are quite a number of few things that we have been able to do. One, we've been able to pass a funded budget. We've also been able not to rebase in 2025, 2026. It's an indication that our financial position is beginning to be healthy. The last 3 months, at least, we saw a 90% collection rate, which we just need to keep it at 90% for the next few months of the year, which is an indication that when I said part of the work is to ensure financial sustainability and stabilizing the finances of the city. I came in as the MMC of Finance. That was the narrative, and now we are seeing the results of what we had committed ourselves to in terms of stabilizing the city financially. Secondly, you'd know that we have been focusing on dealing with road resurfacing and tarring of roads, which we think we are doing well. There are challenges here and there, and I think last 2 weeks I launched a program focusing on resurfacing of roads and closing of potholes, and of course responding to challenges on stormwater. So that project is running now full force, and we're hoping that we'll see results. So I think with us being able to pass a proper budget is beginning to help us to respond to the challenges that we've committed ourselves to do. We said we'll focus on bylaw enforcement and crime prevention. Constantly we are in the inner city, ensuring that we are enforcing the bylaws. Yes, it's not at the level at which we want it to be, but there's an indication that we're doing something in relation to bylaw and enforcement. And of course, lastly, is basically what we are doing with continuous provision of services. We've had a long challenges with water provision. Sometimes it's as a result of rainwater maintenance program, which then affects us as and when the people must now switch on the water. So that's the biggest problem that we have acknowledged, which includes really refurbishing of our entire water infrastructure, and we are focusing on it.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned quite a lot. You mentioned road maintenance, water maintenance, and these are some of the problems that you have, as yourself have identified in the State of the City address. And these were also some of the problems that were identified for upcoming renovations or upcoming streams of, how can I put this, things to be looked at when you're coming to the G20 that's coming up. So, I mean, when the president was here about a few months ago, he spoke about basically rejuvenating the city and waking it up again and making it much more presentable to the people who will be coming to visit the area. So you've spoken about the presidential working group itself, assisting the city's reformation. What tangible outcomes can you say have come out from that group itself till this day?
Well, the team has started different working streams that are sitting to unlock the constraints that we've identified. And the first phase of what they were doing was to identify those constraints, and the second phase was, of course, to look at the turnaround plan and how do we respond and pull in resources from national government. So we're at the stage now that we now have a turnaround plan. We are now responding to key issues that the turnaround plan would have identified as issues that will help us to turn around the city. So the working groups are working well, even on the business side. For example, the business side is also talking about how they're going to reinvest their resources into the inner city. We have identified the buildings that remains a problem which the city must evacuate the people so that the buildings can be made available. We've got all the lists. We've got we have done the necessary profiling of those buildings, so we know where we are. There's a total of about 400, over 400 buildings in the city of Johannesburg that are either hijacked or they're empty, they've been left unattended, and we've got 30 of those that belongs and owned by the city of Johannesburg, and others are owned by national government and provincial government. So they're developing response and interventions to some of the challenges that we have. But as it relates to the infrastructure in the city of Johannesburg's capacity to host the G20, I think we've demonstrated. There have been over 4 ministerial meetings or more. I know the finance was in somewhere at Melrose. I think the ministers of health were also hosted here in the city. So those working groups of the G20 has been hosting meetings right here in Johannesburg. The foreign ministers summit was held in Nazareth. So meetings are happening until the summit that will then be hosted in Nazareth in November. The city itself is also hosting a huge event, co-hosting with the city of Tshwane, the Urban 20, which will be hosting it in September. The first phase, which is the mayoral meeting, happened in June. Assembly, the mayoral assembly, and then the summit will now happen in September in Johannesburg. So we do have capacity to host events. We've got better places in Johannesburg. Of course, the depressed area and the decayed area in the inner city remains cause for concern, and that is why we've moved in there, doing everything that we can to ensure that we turn around the face of the inner city.
I mean, you mentioned a couple of things. You mentioned the hijacked buildings. You mentioned other formidable things that you guys have done so far. And one of the other officials and groups that you have launched recently was the bomb squad itself. And that was to kind of tackle the infrastructure decay and reclaim the buildings as head of the G20. But some may argue that it seems as if the presidential group as well as the bomb squad are similarly the same thing, and they're kind of working towards the same, how can I put this, achievement. So what exactly is the difference between these two groups, and is the bomb squad really necessary if there is already a...
Well, the team is necessary for us to help us to deal with the constraints that we have identified. And remember what constitutes that team. Bulk of its members are former city managers of the city of Johannesburg, or they would have been city managers in other metros in Gauteng. They've been CEOs of entities in the city of Johannesburg. That is the capacity that I thought was necessary to help the current administration to be able to move. You know, Koena, we need to accept that when there are bigger challenges, any leader that wants solutions, you then have to open up and invite resources to come on board. And these are Joburgers who said they want to contribute and help. And it's not like it's undermining the working groups or the administration, but it's there to give us support. The working group is also running with different director generals, heads of departments, national and provincially, who are part of this. The business sector is also part of it, to ensure that we can deal with these constraints. And I've brought an extra support in the form of this team, which I believe this team also have institutional memory. For example, you've got a person like Mavela Dlamini, who has been very helpful to the CEO of JRA, and the CEO of JRA now has capacity that he can tap into for ideas, for knowledge, and since they've been talking, you can see that there's an improvement on the programs that the JRA has been doing in Johannesburg. So I thought, let's bring this, and in fact, it's them who have been engaging different Joburgers who have been saying we want to contribute, we've got skills, we've got knowledge at our own time, we want to do this because Johannesburg can't fail, because the understanding is that we contribute our current GDP, it's at about 2%. We've made a commitment to grow it with another percentage point in the next 5 years. It's a big commitment that we've made, and we must realize it in the next one. So Johannesburg can't fail. We contribute just over around 16% to the national GDP, which is quite significant. So a city like Johannesburg can't fail. So make use of all the resources that are there, who are willing to contribute so that we can make this thing work. It's not about myself as the mayor or the party that I come from. It's about turning around the city and growing the economy. National government has also made commitments towards the growth of the economy. And where do you grow the economy? In South Africa, the main center of the economy is Johannesburg.
And I mean, still on the fighting of infrastructure decay and reclaiming buildings, we're talking about a fight that Johannesburg has been fighting over years, and it's been spanning. And we've recently kind of heard from the Usindiso Commission stating that not only is Johannesburg kind of failing with evacuating the residents, but there's not enough TEAs, which is temporary home allocations. But at this point, you guys continue to fight, and we recently witnessed a full-on raid during the time when Koena was an acting mayor. And it was a matter of, again, revisiting that question of, does the city have the capacity to actually move these people? And do you guys actually also have the capacity to actually refurbish the buildings within the city? Are you guys actually winning this fight?
Well, the fight, it's a bigger fight. We do have challenges in terms of making temporary TAs, accommodation available, which is a challenge because it also requires us that we put some money and resources on it. So it's the biggest challenge that we have, which is slowing down the progress of implementation of evacuation. We've got about 12 court orders. We've only implemented 2 of those 12 court orders. And the main reason we're not moving is because we're battling with temporary accommodation. It requires resources. So yes, we have challenges, and we are looking at better options to resolve that part. And once we can resolve that part, this program will even move much, much faster. It's part of the discussions in the working group, the presidential working group. We've put it there so that those that are in business with technical expertise could also help us with proposals and suggestions of how we can do it. This morning I received something from the MMC of Human Settlement. He sent proposals on how he thinks we can resolve the temporary accommodation issue, and of course we'll then have to sit down and look whether this is a good option, a viable option. Remember, the court said once we evacuate, you can't move people far away from the life that they were used to. You must ensure that there's access to transport, to schooling, and all those issues. So it means you have to find places not far from where they have been before. And that's a court decision, and unfortunately it binds us, and we have to find ways of working in accordance to the court decisions and not compromise our program at the same time.
No, that's understandable. Recently we just had the Minister of Transport, Barbara Creasy, just visit us, and she was mostly perplexed at the Johannesburg's transport system. When we were discussing the matter of Johannesburg itself, she mentioned the Prasa rails, she mentioned all the transports in the city, but she mostly was disappointed in the BRT systems that seem to be failing, and specifically Rea Vaya. We've had multiple problems with Rea Vaya, your taxi associations kind of battling with these groups. What exactly is the plan there, especially considering the fact that it seems as if pedestrians passengers are really looking out for alternative ways to get to work?
Let's look at the Piotrans of phase 1. You'd understand that the company itself was faced with a number of challenges, which led to the company put under a business rescue, and they're working on trying to rescue the business so that the business could come back and be profitable once more. So we are happy with the process that is going on there. We believe that it will build and yield the required results. we are also building other phases, which we have now almost opening, which is your Louis Botha corridor, which runs right up to Alexander with a Sandton, and eventually at some point it will go to Midrand. It has just been recently awarded. We have cleared all the issues that had delayed the awarding of the contract, and I think we have also purchased buses, and there's an agreement that we have entered into with the bus company that will be running the Louis Botha corridor. So there's work. There were challenges, but we are clearing them. Yes, the minister is correct. And part of the issues was what we have also raised with National Transport Department, that would have to relook into the whole model of the BRT and how we want to enhance it, how we want to make it better, even for the taxi operators. You'd know when it started, initially it said it would be a 12-year contract, then it must go out of tender. And if you understand the socialization or of taxi people, is that when you buy a Kumbi today, your intention is that it will take you through right to death. So that is an income that you calculate it in that fashion. Now if we come back, we say take your taxes, in 12 years somebody can win the contract and it might not be you. It creates a problem for taxi owners, which it has already started to create problems. So we need to find a solution that is better responding to taxi operators so that they don't lose their income in the industry. So we are remodeling this thing, and we are making proposals also to the National Department of Transport to say how best can we ensure that they are not left out after 12 years. So, but currently it is running. It's running, of course, with a few problems, especially the Piotrans, because it's not running at full potential. I think they're putting new buses, I think this month or so. They need about 100 more buses to get it to be into full potential, and that's what the business rescue is doing.
No, definitely understand that. So now moving to your council, Mayor. Recently, the speaker was ousted and Margaret took the position as it is. And as it stands, there's also a little bit of a controversial MMC as well that's in that mix as well. So now you have two MMC posts that one may be looking to be vacated and one that is open. What is your stand on filling those two posts at this point in time?
No, we'll fill them quite soon. You just have to analyze the reports on the ones that it's currently affecting one. Once we are done with that, we will make the necessary announcement on how we are going to fill them. So at this stage, it's just to get the necessary reports, but we will fill them. The law basically says it's the mayor. The mayor must take responsibility to ensure that all departments do happen. Departments do their work, so the mayor is focused. Finance, it's in the mayor's office currently. I'm the acting MMC responsible for finance, and once we conclude in the next few days, we'll then conclude also the transport issue. So there's no problem, there's nothing to worry about. We are ensuring that the departments are working properly, as all departments have heads of departments who are employed as technocrats to ensure that the department runs properly, even at the point where there's no political head. We also have an acting city manager who's ensuring that the work of the municipality continues to happen, regardless of not having a political head. So we are in control. Yes, the speaker was removed. There were negotiations between the ANC and Action SA, which negotiations are still on track, are still continuing regardless of the fact that the speaker was removed. There were issues we have put on the table. There were issues Action SA put on the table, and that's where we could not reach an agreement. But we then agreed on one principle, that the discussion and engagements and negotiations between the ANC and Action SA will continue. Remember, in Gauteng, we're supporting the Action SA in Tshwane. they've got the mayor, and that is why here they will also supported the ANC. So those discussions are continuing so that we find an everlasting solutions to the problems that which have led to the speaker being removed.
I mean, the upcoming local elections are coming up, and it's been quite a tit for tat when it comes to opposition parties. Some of the opposition parties have labeled your leadership as quite unstable, and they've listed key points. I mean, recently we've seen your the no confidence motion coming up against you, which resulted in the speaker's ousting. So what is your position right now? I mean, previously you've mentioned that it's more of the fact that it is a tactic as local elections are coming up. But from your point as the ANC mayor in Joburg, what are your guys' plan going forward with regards to the local elections?
Well, the ANC has its own strategy. I think we've had about just over 5 workshops just this year looking at the tactical issues in relation to our next year's plan, and I think we're on track. We've also taken cognizance of surveys and researches and where we need to improve. We're also looking at our selection of candidates, how we're going to select our candidates who will be contesting elections as part of the plan. It's not going to be an easy election. It's going to be a difficult, tough elections. And by the way, not only for the ANC, but for quite a number of parties. As you will see, there's a lot of parties that are emerging almost every day who are also going to be contesting elections. But at the same time, there's amendments on the white paper on local government, which may also bring in certain qualifying criteria for parties that will be contesting elections. So it's an important piece of legislation that I think it must come through. It will also help us to regulate the number of parties that are contesting for elections. I mean, in the city of Johannesburg, we have 17 parties in council. 17 parties. So you'd need to try and regulate, control that environment. The ANC has a good plan. Unfortunately, with local government elections, national issues provincial issues will also impact on local government issues. You may be doing things in the right way, but one small issue from national can just spoil the election campaign. But we are focused on these elections, and we believe as the ANC we've got a better way of doing better, especially as we are responding to key issues. The last 2 weeks I've been in Kliptown. I was there today. It has become one of our priority areas so that we resolve the Kliptown matter once and for all, so we are focused on it. We're focused on the service delivery as people see it, so that we ensure that there's proper provision of services. But at the same time, we're also saying there's a backlog on infrastructure which requires us to raise the necessary capital to invest in infrastructure refurbishment. And those programs are in place. We're also doing what we call the service entity reforms. We're looking at Joburg Water, City Power, and pick it up together with National Treasury to see how we can reinvest the surpluses into those structures to focus on infrastructure. So there's quite a number of things we're doing, including the work we're doing in our clinics. Our clinics are working well, and the indication from researchers are that Joburg's clinics are proper. We've got better things. We've got a better queuing systems, and so on and so on. So there's something we're doing in the health sector which is doing well. We're also doing well on the work that we're doing on the AIDS Council, which is doing quite well. There are challenges that we are now faced with homeless people, and we're trying to develop some sustainable solution, but it's a bigger problem. We're also responding to substance abuse, especially trying to look at how we can bring shelters for people, because, for example, in the townships, there's hardly no shelter. So how do you deal with young people who say, now I want to leave drugs, I'm here, I'm committing myself, but we have no space to take them to. So those are some of the matters that we're beginning to do, to respond to. We're doing well with the Johannesburg market. It has proved over a period turnaround of about 1 billion, which is an indication that the market is doing well. We are regulating price, protecting the poor and the working class. So we are doing well, even if there are challenges there and there, but we are doing well.
So I think just to kind of bring it back to your council and how you're saying you are doing well in your eyes and your views, it seems as if there will be some sort of the DA-led motion of no confidence exposed some sort of serious fractions in your coalition. You say that the ANC and the Action SA have seemed to find a common ground to discuss their issues going forward. But would you say that the administration at this point is stable? And are you confident to say that you can still lead as mayor?
No, yes, I'm a mayor, I'm the executive, I'm leading, I'm engaging. The day before yesterday, I had a meeting, a workshop with all the senior managers. So we are leading, we are responding to the issues that are affecting the city. So we are there. You can't say that we are not leading, we are. I've got MMCs that I give them responsibilities and they're responding and they're reporting on the responsibilities that they've been doing. So there is work that's being done and there's work that we communicate. Unfortunately, some work does not find it through to the media, because sometimes the media also looks at what is of interest to itself, whether it will sell or it won't sell, but we try our level best to communicate the things that we are doing in the city, and there's a lot. We're also currently engaged in an important aspect of resolving worker issues. Employees of the city have had a long-standing issue with the city which relates to their salary scales, which we are resolving. We've entered into a mediation between ourselves and the trade union or labor, and there are solutions that workers are happy with, which will also help us to motivate the employees of the city once more. But we also are faced with corruption issues there, where you find workers doing certain things that continue to undermine the service delivery that we're doing, but we're constantly engaging with workers. We've got a GFIS institution that helps us to deal with investigations and corruptions, and others we report directly to the police. So those are some of the things that are in the city, but we continue to push. And remember, leadership is about giving direction, it's about hope, it's about inspiring people that here is a vision and these people are moving in this direction to achieve. Being able to motivate your political colleagues in the mayoral committee, your administration. We also have a session where we meet only as political heads and we look at some of the challenges in the city and give responses on how we can navigate those type of issues.
Thank you so much. That was the Executive Mayor of Johannesburg, Mr. Dada Morero, and this has been In the Know with Sowetan. I'm Koena Mashale. Thank you so much for joining us.